What is up, guys? It's your boy GRC. I'm live every single day, crypto in the morning, where we come to you live with the best, latest, greatest crypto news from the Hex ecosystem and the Ethereum ecosystems. And we have a lot to talk about liquidity providing today. So we also had a cool video from Dev Kyle with Hexa that we want to look at for 10 minutes. That's important. That was a good video. And I think Bullish has some points to make on that at some point. But it was good to see everyone getting involved on. I saw a lot of excitement on the internet yesterday. So that was great. As far as Twitter and the Hex ecosystem, everyone was excited. I didn't watch it. I was tired. I was providing liquidity on multiple new chains because the fees are so cheap that providing liquidity has a lot of, if you believe that the coin at a low valuation is at a low valuation anyway, and the downside risk is not that much, sometimes providing liquidity early on some of these things with just a little amount of USD, you can get a little portion of the pie and really earn really good yield. So I'm just playing with that because I want to practice. It's not really like, I'm not trying to make a bunch of money. I'm just trying to practice and learn this while everyone else blames me and tells me this, that, and the other. I'm just trying to learn this shit, guys. And I'm getting better to the point where I'm going to be way more comfortable doing V3 liquidity probably by the end of the day, because V2 wise, I'm good. Like, I understand. I spent 4 hours straight last night just by myself, music on, learning about the yield, learning about the safety, learning about the LP tokens, learning about all of that and putting just a little bit of money in and trying to learn. Sam's been doing that for probably a couple months now. So, and I understand all of the liquidity providing like metrics, but to go through and do it, it kind of, there's a human interaction portion to all this. The reason that LP is important because it makes you interact with these contracts and hold your coins. Kind of reminds me of Hex, right? You hold your coins and you stake them, and it helps the price chart, but it also gives you a benefit. So it's very similar, but it's just the way that they do that. So remember that for the newer guys. And again, if you ask Sam Stolt about staking Hex on ETH, POS, rather than providing LP, he's going to call you an asshole. So, I mean, he really is, because he's going to pull up a spreadsheet, and then he's going to say, okay, Mr. Paper Hands, we have two charts here. One, you earn more money, one, you earn it now, and one, you earn less money, and you can't touch it at all. And the gas fee is ridiculous. So I'm just here. I just work here, guys. But crypto in the morning, every day. We got Sam. We're going to be looking at Hexo's stream with Dev Kyle and Explosive Artist. We're going to be talking to Sam. We're going to be getting into it hot and heavy today, guys. Are these chains going to adopt? I don't know. Who the fuck knows? I think they will. I see these telegrams. There's 7 Ethereum Fair telegrams in different languages. So that's, Sam, the way I feel about Ethereum Fair and Ethereum POW from like separate from the original is I feel like Ethereum Fair is more fair and normal. I feel like it's literally more fair and like kind of more how it probably would roll out if a new healthy chain was rolling out. And ETH POW is a little bit more like blam, blam. There's a couple things in your face. Get these meme coins. Get these pumperoonies. Come on, guys. Make them $1 million in 24 hours. Lots of that. And that's not really healthy, but it's good for volume. And volume is good in crypto, especially if you are the exchange and you're earning money like I am now on both Ethereum Fair and Ethereum. I mean, on both Fair Swap and POW Swap. And I only used those because the names were exactly the same as the native coin, and I thought it had a human potential. Is very interesting. So let's get into crypto in the morning real quick, and then we're going to get into Sam, talk to Sam, and then we're going to go straight into Dev Kyle, and then we're going to be talking about V2 liquidity, V3 liquidity, in the future of making gains in DeFi for us and our users and what we're going to focus on. Guys, we'll be back in 1 minute.
Your already know what time it is. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypt in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypt in the morning. Crypt in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stay. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim ready sent me to show you the way. Crypt in the morning. 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 Crypt in the morning.
Yo. We were just talking about some LP before we got into the show, and I was looking at a couple of positions here because I've got positions on 3 different chains now, and on both V3 and on V2. And just in V2,
V2 cool when it's early,
right? Yes, like I'm excited about this. I haven't done anything in crypto.
Yeah, I want you to explain it to me a little more. Like, I've done all of it now and I get it, but I want to talk about the percentages.
So this is where I think this might be like a little controversial, right? But I think that I said this 2 or 3 days ago when Pulse launches, if Pulse launches, right? If there's a V3 front end, I'm going to be using the V3 front end because Pulse is V2. V2 is cool, right? That's what Binance uses. That's what all these other platforms use, right?
And it's better for basic users, even though it is a little complicated. It is better for guys that don't want to have risk in losing their coins in any way, shape, or form because they're not educated on it. So that's true. Like, that's real. Like, people don't know, so they don't want to do things that are like they don't know.
But when you get into V3, like, because that the concentrated liquidity, that is an innovation that nobody else has.
Talk about it.
That concentrated liquidity offers on the return side. If you have, say you're a whale, you put up $1 million in liquidity, and I have 100 grand. I can make more money with my 100 grand in V3 than you can make with your, even if, right? So V2 guys, if you think about like V2 on POW or V2, I think Sushi might do this, but I know Pancake does. You provide liquidity, you get LP tokens, right? Those tokens are a representation of your pair in the pool. Now, you get those LP tokens, you take those and you can farm with those, and that earns you more of something. Those returns, when you combine both of those pieces, the fees and that, I can dwarf that in V3 with a fraction of the money. So I don't know. I personally have this belief, and we'll talk about this more.
You're smart and you're sharp, and you are not used to being ridiculously naive. It's been a while, Sam. And you got to understand that, you've been walking loud and proud here for about 15 years now. And you've been saying what you mean and meaning what you say to a degree. And it's just not the case for people. And I'm telling you from my own experience, as someone who actually pays attention and focuses, it took me about 2 years to get to the point where I was comfortable. And again, it's about comfortable enough to put my money into a smart contract, because you have to trust yourself. Sam trusts himself because he's used to doing things properly. And I was not used to doing things properly in my, some things, but not all things. And then you come into here, but then over time, you become more sharp. And that's why I always tell people, I'm just going to study until I can't know, until there's nothing I don't know. At least there's nothing, unless, I want to be finding stuff out every day, like boom, 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 boom. So and it took me about 2 years, Sam, to get to the point where I want to provide liquidity. I'm totally comfortable doing it on multiple addresses. I'm totally comfortable doing it on a Trezor address that I have stakes on. I said it. Whoops. Sorry, said it. Because I understand now. I didn't understand then. That's why when you stake all your stuff into a contract, or you V2 liquidity provide, or you V3 liquidity provide, and you don't know what you're doing, you're wrecked.
Think of this conversation that we're having right now back 9 months ago. We would be blown away. We would literally have not any idea what this conversation was about.
Oh my God.
Because with the evolution, I have the saying, like, the aggregation, it's big words, but just fucking, I'll explain it. The aggregation of marginal gains causes like an exponential growth. So that means the summation, the adding up of these tiny little steps forwards, right? The aggregation of marginal is just that tiny little step forwards, right? You're like, I can do that one more thing. So when you take the add up all the tiny little steps over a longer period of time, this has only been 9 months. And literally the version of Sam from 9 months ago would be lost today in crypto if I didn't spend the time and the effort understanding what is going on. V2, V3, liquidity providing on both, how these pools are working, how the actual liquidity distribution is working, what's going on with Hex, what's going on with Hedron, what's going on with Ecosa, what's going on with ETH, what's going on with ETH or W, what's going on with POS. This has only been 9 months, dude. And look at how much has already changed. Look at how much you've grown, right? As a man, as a human, as a leader, right? And how much you've been able to acquire knowledge-wise and experience-wise. Now place another 9 months on top of where we're at right now.
Yeah,
the
it's
same
good. And I
thing's gonna
try
happen.
to tell people beforehand so they don't get like, and it's not about money. I'm not talking about money, but like when I have my way with this world, like you should have teamed up with me because I was being friendly to everyone. I was always friendly. I was always asking people to be inclusive. I was always asking for good information. And people truly do not want to see you shine because they don't see themselves shining in the future. And it's okay though. That's okay. That's what the role of a leader. Like leaders bear a lot of, weight as well. It's just a different kind of weight. Like it's just like I can't listen to anyone, right? Like literally people are like, do you listen to anyone? And I'm like, no. Like literally I wake up every day and I'm like, do not listen to anyone. Like I tell myself that in the mirror. Like, fuck no, don't listen to nobody. And my girl will be like, do you really not listen to anyone? And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, I don't think I really do. Like, and that's what it's like to be free. That's called price discovery for life. Like the upside is forever. Like, and the downside is what? 9 months of work.
And this is like, how much shit do we not know, right? Yes, we've
So
come a long
much
way.
sharding.
I posted about that this morning.
I don't understand sharding, and I don't understand the implications of it, and I don't understand the difference between the two different types of sharding because there's. Okay, well, let's not go down that rabbit hole. I'm learning about.
Go ahead.
Hey, Axis. Axis was going to come on the show today, but then he had to make a drive. But I want to talk to him very soon. He's on the cutting edge. That's all I need to say. Axis Alive is on the cutting edge. And he's locked in and loaded, and his bags are packed for Moonville, USA. Oh, you are home. What do you mean you are home, Axis? I thought you said you were going for a drive. You want to hop on for the last 25 minutes and have a power, or do you want to come on at 1 p.m. and do a complete walkthrough with all of your crazy brain stuff? Because you'll have more time if you do it at 1 p.m. because the time will cut close. So let's play this video real quick so we can just get on topic of some sort. Now, the guys on the right are the world's I'm not going to say anything mean, but they're the best hexicans known to man, okay? They really are. These guys have been pushing this product for a long time, and it makes sense that they're a little bit nervous and a little bit slow to come onto the other chains. They also have a lot more money. So that's, so their perspective is different, and that's why I don't judge people for 7 days. Like when it's 7 to 10 days, like, okay, like you're not a sheep just because you didn't switch up in 4 days. You know what I mean? Maybe if you didn't switch up in a year or like 6 months and you're a big bag holder, like, yeah, you're a dick. Oh, me and Axis, 1 p.m. Bullish. If you can make a thumbnail for that, let's go, Sam. If you want to join, of course, you're allowed to. Let's effing go.
Dope.
And if
So
I made anyone upset, first of all, I think Hexo's a great man. I think Coffee's a great man. I think Coffee's a little naive about some things, but he's a great man. Like, you could tell he's not a bad person in any way, shape, or form, guys. So when I'm talking a little bit of smack and checking some of these guys, please don't think that I'm in any way, shape, or form have not done 100 times worse things and said stupider things and put stupid needles in my butt when I was taking, all the stupid shit. I've done a million stupid things in my life, guys, and things that I don't necessarily want other people to do. And then they say one thing on like 4 days out, and but they're streaming every day. Like, I give them props, yo. Like, for real, they're streaming every day, and they have way more money than me. I don't even know if I would do that. Maybe they don't have way more money than me.
no, they do, but you're in a different realm. You're in a different space because of, like, obviously we have a different context. We've been in the realm of research compounds. Well, I have been in that. You've been in that for a little while. And you're open, testing new things.
Don't you fucking tell Axis to come on tomorrow. But yes,
tomorrow I can't come out. I can't come out.
No, I know, but he can. You say if you would like to also come on tomorrow, because you already have an exclusive stream with GRC clearly at 1 p.m.
So, Axis, if you want to come on tomorrow, in addition to 1 p.m. today with GRC, that would be great. Then we can chat tomorrow. I have a call at 12:30 and a call at 1 o'clock today, so I can't do today. But if you're willing to,
he said I will. So stream. I don't want anyone else. Boom, cut it. We need some Axis.
We're going on an Axis Alive marathon, Crypto in the Morning, Jim Rat Show, Axis Alive marathon. Tune in.
Yep. If you like numbers, if you like melting your face off with gains in reality and no bias he has zero fluid bias about other things. So when he talks about other things, it's always wide open spaces. And that's the guys that I like to talk to for 45 minutes, an hour. But guys, if I could get on topic, I want to shout out these guys. So first of all, Hexo streams every day, and he also streamed for 555 days straight before this. And that's boss mode. Crypto Coffee has a course. He's working hard. He's doing a million things. He's showing up to events. He's balling hard. Okay. Explosive artist. I don't know much about him, but he's awesome as fuck. And he makes art.
He's looking sharp with his tie
and he
and
looks
his hair.
like he could beat someone's ass, frankly.
Yeah.
And Dev Kyle, like, I don't know anything about him, but supposedly he's an amazing person, and he for free, or like, I don't know if it's for freelance or for more like the passion in his heart is the reason he kind of got involved with the dev work with Hex, I heard.
Yeah, and to give some context before we play this video, none of us really know who Dev Kyle is, as intimate as you guys are. So, I just poked around asking questions. I learned, he was one of the guys that pretty much invented the t-shirt and gave, Richard Hart the idea. So just like everyone else, like, I just pretty much watched the intro part just to get an idea of like what Kyle, who Kyle is. And, we're going to go into it now. They're going to see this for the first time. I already saw this first part, and then we'll get into some opinions.
Thanks, Bush. This is gonna be interesting, guys. Dev Kyle's come on a couple other episodes. You guys are probably familiar with Crypto Coffee and Hexo. And I can't read what it actually says below there, but what does it say? Hex Explosive?
Oh, it's Explosive Artist. He's a friend of Hexo's, and they're pretty much day one Hexicans, and they've just been like enjoying life, and they're really positive people.
So let's see what Kyle has to say. The title of their video is Pulse Chain Developer Reveals Hidden Secrets About Pulse. So let's see what he has to say.
Crypto Coffee, they want
Big day.
Yeah, it's a big day for us.
Don't be nervous, guys. It's okay. We're just people just like you.
I'm not nervous. You're nervous.
So anyway.
They say don't meet your idols, and here I am, two of my idols.
I look forward to disappointing you.
I disappointed a lot of people in Vegas, that's for sure.
Yeah. I was a witness to that. I sure got an earful for people because of how disappointed they were with the Crypto Coffee.
For people we didn't even know.
So we've got the Dev Kyle here. He was let's just hear your story, Dev Kyle. What is your role with Hex at first, right? And are you? I don't know if you're working on Pulse Chain at all, or if you're just kind of in the background, or
I'm sure you know some things at least.
Yeah.
how to answer that question. I guess we'll start at the
It's a
beginning.
loaded. Devs are
Yeah,
the
so
best people.
2019, I got turned on to the Hex project and just wanted to dive right in, teach myself how to do sort of smart contract programming. Thought, oh, this sounds like a cool idea. It kind of dispenses with a bunch of the frills and kind of BS surrounding crypto projects at the time. This is sort of coming off of the 2017 ICO hype cycle.
Right.
And thought this would be a simple thing to get started with. Turns out Hex was a simple idea that's very complicated in practice.
Yeah.
Ended up helping quite a bit with some of the design and game theory thoughts. Built a bunch of tools to sort of test and harden hypotheses about it, and helped kind of through the dev and release process. Stuck around the community, because of course the promise of Hex is you sort of set it and forget it for years at a time, but in practice that's not what happened. So lots of
Oh,
people
that's
had
not what we've
questions.
done?
Right.
I
Yeah.
wish.
Oh, we didn't do that. We didn't follow through on that plan.
Right.
So just continued being an active community member, helping folks with knowledge and code, and I have a kind of a long history at this point in software engineering, large systems, companies you've heard of. So I have a lot of practical industry experience to kind of bring to the table, and have continued with other kind of Richard Hart projects, Richard Hart ideas, just lending skills, expertise, knowledge. It's all volunteer based, so it's as I have free time. So when you ask, am I working on Pulse Chain? You know, I've dipped in and out. I help how I can, but I do have a full-time job, so it has to be balanced against that.
Right. So
Interesting.
yeah, I mean, so you're just doing it for fun. That's what I
Yeah,
always
this is
think
all
that
for
it's
fun.
funny. It's like you just do it for fun. Like
Yeah.
you've been you coded some of Hex, or at least I know you did the Monte Carlo simulations, right?
Yeah, so
For
I
Hex.
wrote some simulation software, and as we did iterations on the contract and came up with different models in hopes of solving some of the core problems, one of which is to make longer pays better actually true. That is much harder than it sounds.
Right.
So I wrote some simulation software that we could plug in the contract and just see what it would do
I'd like to
under
pause that for
kind
one
of random
sec,
conditions. Or
if we can. I do want to highlight that because I've extrapolated that data in my head a million times, thinking about if I was writing something, if I was building something, how could I make a time? And I wasn't for myself. I was trying to see how hard this was to do for another human. So I was trying to think of it in those terms, Sam, because I wanted to see how impressive Richard was. And if like, you know, if it's easy, then it's easy, you know, like if it's easy, you know, Richard could be but if it's not easy, if this really took 2 years of really hard sitting down and talking to other men, that's hard to pull off again. That's hard for someone else to pull off. And this dude did this for free because he loved the Hex project. Look at his cat. Look at his cat in the background. That's hilarious. So I just want people to know, like, for real, like, longer pays better. Come on, guys. That's not easy with a fixed staking mechanism to make something at all sustainable in any way. It's very difficult. 3.69 inflation. You know, I think it's really, really, really special.
It is. And he put in a lot of effort behind the scenes because a lot of people, I think, with a lot of projects when they're launching, they do it. Well, they want to make money, right? But they also do it because they love like building shit and like making stuff better, and they're improving stuff. Like that's what they really enjoy to do. And it sounds like, obviously this is just my first take on Kyle here because I haven't paid attention to his stuff, but sounds like that's what his ambition was, or like he enjoys helping. He enjoys like making things better. He enjoys the crypto space in general. It's interesting.
I can answer this question just really quick to get it out of the way. Hey, gentlemen, how do you manage to deal with the fact that your LP, the coin that you're receiving, is going down? PowSwap, how do you know the math if you out or leave and run? Well, first of all, you buy things that you feel like has more than a month or 2 months or 3 months of future. Obviously, the future is never known, but that's right around the range where you have to see, like, what are these guys doing? Is the Telegram popping? Am I excited about? Look at the buys and sells. See if they're new people. But in general, you shouldn't over leverage into a position like this. So you really should not be worried if the native token goes to zero, really. Like if you're doing a V2 LP play, like on a new chain, that's not Pulse Chain, or that's, you know, these are new chains that we didn't really know about. You're kind of taking a risk. Like you're putting, so there's risk involved, but the rewards are so much better percentage wise per week, then you really break even. Probably worst case scenario. If it goes to zero, you won't break even. But that's the thing. That's why I like the name PowSwap. I thought it would be stickier because it's on ETHPow.
And well, so V2, at least on POW, right? I haven't done all V2 versions, but they don't also tell you what you're making, right? Like on V3, you can see exactly your fees, how much
They tell you weekly what you probably will make, I think.
But it's only in terms of the farming piece, not in terms of the fees piece. So like the fees,
I've been only thinking about it in the farming terms, really. Like,
and I think that's due to lack of stable. There's really no way to price it.
Yeah.
But even just, you know how V3 does it, right? V3 has, hey, you can claim you've made this much hex and you've made this much hedron or ETH.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You are right about that. Yeah.
And they don't have that there. That would be like,
yeah, but you can take out your initial. You don't make more.
But you know how, like, so for anybody who's not sure what we're talking about, right? So an LP, you've got X token and Y token in a pool. When somebody goes from Y to X, they pay a fee in Y. When they go from X to Y, they pay the fee in X. Now, in V3, when you do that, you have the initial coins that you put in at the top, and those are going to fluctuate as the price moves within the range you put in. Below that, you have another section that says you've earned this much USDC, you've earned this much hex, if that's what you were providing liquidity on.
Yeah, you just don't have that.
In V2, it's not there.
Well, you don't have that in V2. You're not making the other asset.
You're making both. You're making both.
Really? You are making both?
But they don't have any, like, it's just poorly.
I assume because when you do it on, sometimes they just move it over to the farm, and on some of them they erase it from the initial. Whatever.
Let's bring this question back towards the end of the show, because Sam's gonna be making a video about V2 versus V3, so we can like start.
And I had a question. Thank you, Bullish. I had a question on this that, like, somebody can share it in the chat or hit me up on tag.
And I can do it live. Like I have coins on this computer. Like I have UniW. I have a bunch of stuff. So like,
and I was gonna do a video on this because I see that there's a lot of questions around it, and I just want to provide more value out there. But I want to talk about V2. So if anybody has a clip, right, there was at least 2 that I remember, but I don't remember where I found them. So if anybody knows where to find them quickly and can tag me on Twitter or send it to here in the chat or something. Does anybody have a clip where RH says the AMM bot cannot pull the liquidity in Pulse from V3? I would appreciate that. Let's get
that clip in 3 minutes.
Let's get back into this video.
There's a thing called hexsearch.io. You can type in anything and it'll come up with Richard's.
Hexsearch.io.
Yep.
I mean, thank you, sir.
And then just look through that. You'll know it's clean enough. All right, let's play it.
You could bend it towards more realistic conditions as you wanted. So there was that. I actually did write some Solidity code that did not make it into the final contract, but there is a funny story there that the main contract dev only knew me by reputation, because Richard would say in public, we have this problem. I would write some Solidity code, me being a noob, being like, oh, I know how to do that. And then Richard would tell the main dev, Kyle wrote this, merge it. And that guy would say, who's Kyle? F him. Why does he think he knows how to do this? So we got off on the wrong foot because of that intermediary communication.
Interesting.
But we're buddies now.
So wait, were you and Richard like that too? Did you guys kind of have contending viewpoints at some point?
That's a good question. I don't think he and I ever disagreed on the values. So we've always been very aligned on what's important, and just talk in terms of trade-offs. We can achieve these values, but here are the engineering trade-offs that need to be made. There's a time to market versus sort of robustness trade-off sometimes, or there's a feature creep that we could do that would solve these things and be pretty cool, but will be slow or will be hard or will be complicated. So no, I don't think we ever disagreed on those things. And me and the main dev didn't actually disagree on the content of any of the changes. It was just the message of, hey, this guy came in, he wrote some code, merge it.
Right. Who's this guy?
Yeah,
Right.
who's
You're
this
the
guy?
new guy. You're the new
Or
guy.
just some guy from the internet wrote some code. And you went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let me see. Hexcon, thank you for the 5555. What up,
Dang, dude.
guys? You're doing well. Thank you so much, Hexcon.
Spoils
We are
us.
doing very well. We've got the
That's very generous.
two main men, the Kyle and
I know.
Coffee here, and Hexplosive. So, so what are your thoughts? My big question for you, and people are gonna, this is very polarizing in the Hex community right now. What are your thoughts on the ETH chains? The extra forks, the ETH and ETH. What's your long-term thoughts, short-term thoughts? What are you thinking?
That's a good question. I didn't realize there were so many thoughts, actually. So I read briefly about the ETHW thing. That seems like a very laudable effort. I can see why you could take a cynical viewpoint and say this is a cash grab. This is just a straight fork. You can clone some of the tooling and call it your own thing and hope to extract some value. But I also see it as a legitimately good idea to have a failsafe, that you have chain state that you can fall back to, because you can never be sure, right? I mean, the merge has happened.
Oh wow! Listen,
Ethereum is on
smart.
proof of stake now.
He's
If
just
it
not
turns
immediately
out
talking shit like
that
some people.
experiment
Yeah. So pause
fails,
it real quick. So Coffee was up there nodding his head, ready for him to say this shit's going to zero because he
on.
already has preconceived.
Before you hold your comments, before you say your comments, I think your comments will be stronger if you let him finish.
Okay. Fair.
wouldn't it be nice to have state to go back to? DeFi could just change which chain is legitimate by which one they will actually cash you out for, if you're USDC or USDT or whatever.
Yeah.
This whole space of crypto to me is interesting in that it is all highly experimental, and that the facts on the ground can change from day to day as you learn about who's a scammer or who is actually doing like reserve banking but said they weren't. You can sort of learn and go and change and pivot and adapt because it's all in software, and there's sort of a social consensus on top of that of what is backed, like what is made legitimate through real fiat, through the full faith of governments.
Yeah.
So I don't have a strong opinion near term or long term on ETHW or ETHF. ETHF, I don't know enough about, but from what I understand was basically Poloniex Poloniex' choice for a backup chain. So it's hard to have an opinion because we don't know enough. We don't know if those are going to survive or if they're just going to be centralized versions of the old thing.
Go ahead.
Or decentralized versions of the old.
Like more decentralized.
Yeah, like what? The only thing that everything he said was perfect, except there's more centralized risk in staking needing 150 grand to stake your ETH.
But if you want, start where you were going to comment before about people talking about without.
Yeah, it's just like when a dev talks, and I relate more to guys like that because I come from the world of Derek More Plates More Dates. These guys are pharmacology study guys. They always were talking about details, research, literature. That's all they ever talked about was research literature. So you get used to these guys that tell you what's actually on the paper or what's actually going on, or because they actually have real knowledge and insight on the things. And what he was telling you is that we're early and we don't know. And what have we been telling you the whole time? We're early and we don't know, but a few $100s can change your life. Because what did we figure out? There is security risk to proof of stake. There is centralized risk to proof of stake. All we want is cheap transactions and decentralizations. Blockchain was made for censorship resistant. That is it. Everything else it is not optimal at. And it should be not used if it wasn't for that piece of the censorship resistance.
And there's a lot of people, so you can tell, in my opinion, a lot about a person when they go through and I'm going to say hedge, but I don't think hedge is the right word. I think it's just more of life experience or maturity about life, where when something comes out that there is a polarization, right? I posted a tweet about ETH and ETHW hex versions getting to parity. And there was about 700 people that responded. And it was virtually 50-50. Like 50% of people said it's never going to happen. 50% of people said it's going to happen before the end of 2023. Now, there's a group of people that immediately jump to conclusions. And they say things that are like perceived by the other side as negative, right? But when you have that maturity, when you go to that point in life where you've seen through a lot of different things, and you are sitting in that place of like, I don't give a shit what happens. I'm just trying to be right. And I understand that there is risks in this direction, and then there's risks in this direction. And I'm going to try to do what I can best possibly do, which means that this has merit in some areas, this has merit in other areas. And I like the effects of this over here. And you get some of that with Kyle, right? As he's talking about this, he's just not saying, oh, these are crap, right? There's several people in the Hex community who are going through and doing that. And I don't necessarily agree with that mindset, because to me, it comes off as extremely biased. Like if I'm like, hey, this is the only way, there tends to be a big bias in one direction.
Especially in crypto.
Yes.
Crypto's literally open source software. And imagine a world where proof of stake becomes regulated so heavily that people just move to the cheaper, better UI, more stable. You can run and spin up a node on those things, I'm sure, pretty easily right now. And this is really important stuff to learn. And I understand that proof of stake is probably the future, but that does not mean it's done right yet. That does not mean it's done even almost to the point where the SEC will think it's good to go. You know what I mean? So just understand, just like Vitalik doesn't write the rules for this country, neither does Richard, neither do we. But we report every day and tell you the truth about what's going on and tell you the truth about the tools in front of you, while everyone else points and makes big words and assumptions because they have a YouTube channel or whatever. Understand that those are for entertainment purpose only, people. You go over there for some funsies and an instructional video, something like that. But when it comes to the deep conversations, you have to watch who you're listening to, because some people are biased because they haven't had enough experience in their life to show them that, life moves on without you. They need to follow. And Hex did so well for so long that they're just attached to it. They're attached to the one interface for where they buy their token and stake it, although the code is immutable and the code is forever and the code lives on these chains, but it's accepting it is not easy, and I accepted it day 2, day 1, it wasn't that hard for me because I was like, oh, yep, people still have miners. Let's do it. Cheap transactions. Finally, I can use crypto.
You and Bullish have probably both seen this person, but I'm not going to mention their name, who has, with people who have sacrificed, and their position is that the code doesn't matter. Richard Hart did not create it, so it is not good and is not going to be valid in the long run. I can tell you guys who it is afterwards, but I don't feel like mentioning anybody's name because I'm not trying to give anybody, a hard time or anything. But when you see that, and you realize that code is just code, right? But you see somebody else talking about it in that manner, it's, to me, just comes off as very, very biased in one direction, which is fine. We all have biases. I completely agree with that. But the people who don't try to go through and recognize those biases, and they don't see that in themselves, hey, we could be 100% wrong, right? I'll say shit and I could be like, I'm wrong. Or, hey, I'm taking leverage out of fiat and putting it into crypto. You guys should not do what I'm doing. And if I fuck myself over, I will tell you guys what I did, right? But also, if this works out and I make massive amount of money, I'll tell you what I did and go through that process. But when you go through and you're just very biased in one direction, try to recognize that in both the characters that you pay attention to, both in terms of seeing and listening to and who you actually spend time with, right? As well as reading, because that's going to shape your mind, right? And if you pay attention to people who are constantly trying to question their biases to understand things at a deeper level and move forward at a higher pace, I think that's definitely a good thing to do. enough of a tangent around this. We can pull this video back up and get back into a few more minutes.
Yeah, let's do 5 more minutes on the video. And Bullish, if you want to come up and say anything at any point, feel free.
Like Ethereum in the 1 era was highly decentralized in terms of who was mining it comparatively, like across the space. If ETH ends up being just a bunch of Poloniex owned miners, then it won't be decentralized, and it probably will fail that test of confidence over time. ETH POW may be a totally legitimate secondary chain because their pitch is basically, hey, you spent all this money on mining hardware or GPUs or solar rigs or whatever you're doing. Just point it at this and you can mine it forever.
Right.
I like that they're not beating around the bush on that either. Like Chandler, the founder, he basically said verbatim, this is so miners can continue mining. And people are criticizing him for that, but it's actually the honest truth. He could have chose the narrative of proof of work is better, but he knows it's pretty objective. I mean, proof of work for proof of stake, people fight about that all day long, but the real reason is just miners need to make money. And to me, it
Coffee
seems
has
like
no idea what he's talking
it'll be
about.
around a while.
Coffee has absolutely zero idea what he's talking about. You know, I'm just saying, don't say that with your chest, Coffee, because if you were debating someone about it, you wouldn't have a goddamn clue.
Do you want to rewind it? I was responding to.
No, it's not that. It's just these are
Simba.
heavy subjects that have to be hammered out with hours of conversation. And like, Coffee wants to wake up out of his stupor and just be like, "Oh, we all know that's the truth." And like, dude, really? Like, nobody's done this yet, bro. This is the first shot, bro. The SEC hasn't. You know, what is better? What do users want? Cheap transactions. Fast transactions, good UI. If he knew what the users wanted, but he's not a user, he's a staker. Like he's just a stake. So he doesn't know. I know what it's like to be a user. I'm going to stake all my shit. Like I'm curious of the options that I have. I'm curious of cheap transactions. And I'm going to pull something up real quick that I think, Sam, you're gonna like a lot. And just give me 1 second on this.
Yep.
I'm not saying Coffee's. I like Coffee. Like I think Coffee's a nice guy. No, just give me 1 second. Look.
Bullish, can you pull up that chart you had earlier with the 3 or 4 different chains too that from CoinGecko? But go ahead and get into this, GRC.
Look, ETH is on the clock. Edis is no longer viable long term. 45% of ETH validators now complying to the U.S. sanctions. Oh my gosh, guys!
Wow. We've been talking about this for a while.
Dude, am I right about Coffee or am I being a dick?
What exactly did he say? I
He was basically like, we all know that the only reason proof of work is viable is because people still have miners.
What?
Let's play it back. Let's play it back.
Rewind it and play it. And Sam, give me an honest pick, because I don't want to be a dick to the guy either. I'm not the smartest at all this, but I mean, I've studied this stuff long enough.
The pitch is basically, hey, you spent all this money on mining hardware or GPUs or solar rigs or whatever you're doing. Just point it at this and you can mine it forever.
Right.
I like that they're not beating around the bush on that either. Like Chandler, the founder, he basically said verbatim, this is so miners can continue mining. And people are criticizing him for that, but it's actually the honest truth. He could have chose the narrative of proof of work is better, but he knows it's pretty objective. I mean, proof of work for proof of stake, people fight about that all day long, but the real reason is just miners need to make money. And to me, it seems like it'll be around a while. Whether or not it's highly successful price-wise, that's another thing, but it'll be around.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, of course it'll be around. It's just code that exists on the internet. So thanks for that.
And there's a lot of valid reasons why proof of work is better than proof of stake.
And I would go ahead and say Coffee knows not too intimately on those subjects.
This is like the
security, functionality, decentralization. Like there's so much up in the air to talk about when it comes to that. And to undercut all of that with just waking up and going on stream with some, and the guy, I'm sure the dev's just like, whatever, that's not even true, because it's not true. The reason that people do that is because that's how people stay. That was the centralized method that was thought to be the best one. And if there's a lot less load on the system because of it too, I don't see why they can't exist. But that's not the point. Proof of stake versus, I believe that proof of work is the future, because it is more efficient, but I don't agree that we're there yet. And I agree. Yeah, proof of stake, because it is more efficient. And I believe the SEC can shut that the fuck down and tell Ethereum to get the fuck out of town in 5 seconds. And look what I just pulled up. Are you serious, Sam? We forgot to even like. So
Correct. Dude,
Lever
what you're saying is
CEO Lachlan Feeney is trying to raise awareness among validators running Flashbot software that they may potentially be contributing to censorship within the Ethereum network. ETH Pound never looked so good. Axis Alive didn't even know that was. He'll be on at 1 o'clock, guys. ETH Pound never looked so good. This is a smart mother effer right here. Biggest attack vector was getting rid of the millions of users running nodes on consensus. I'm Coffee. Next time I see you, I'm going to smack you right in the back of your head. Okay? You know that? Because look, this is real logic. This is real understanding. Because look, Sam, biggest attack vector was getting rid of the millions of nodes. People running nodes. So you're playing wait and see, adding dry powder over there, or moving all the possible out and in bridge. Haha, haven't even connected yet. Yeah, he doesn't even
sees
care.
the writing on the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, see, but isn't that Sam, I tell people this all the time. If you have more money, you are allowed to not do anything because you have millions and millions of hex on the other chain already. You're good. But all you have to do is work on making people aware.
Correct, because we've been talking about how this is definitely more centralized, right? You go from a place, proof of work, where miners don't own the biggest portion of the network, right? Miners are the same thing as validators, right? They have the same costs, all this kind of stuff. It's just instead of there being tons and tons and tons of miners, now there's a couple validators, right? So in order to validate, you need a large portion of ownership. So what happens is you have ownership and miners in proof of work. Now in proof of stake, they come together, right? And what happens with things over time? The people with the largest percent of ownership or most money grow that over time, right? So this is just going to continue. The bigger players are going to get bigger over here. Now, yes, it is far more efficient, but there's that trilemma, right? You have security, decentralization, and scalability. One thing that Ethereum seems to be focusing on very heavily is scalability. That doesn't mean in the future that they couldn't focus that effort to decentralization and security. But currently, to give up on both of those things, not give up completely, but like there's trade-offs to scalability. To be more scalable tends to be more centralized. And that's what's taking place right now. This is an interesting chart from Gecko Terminal. And this goes through and compares the 4 different Ethereum networks, right? So we have mainnet, POS, POW Classic, and then POW, and then Ethereum Fair. And it has the price comparison right there, the first couple lines, right? The prices of each one. Then it has dominance, right? And dominance, I think, is based on the number of users or maybe the number of transactions or something along those lines. And Ethereum POS is clearly dominated here. But one thing that is interesting, and this is the first time I've seen this today. I don't know if Bullish has been watching this for a couple of days, but the proof of work or Ethereum Fair, I personally believe, will pass Ethereum Classic within the next 12 months in terms of dominance. And I wouldn't be surprised, like Kyle the dev was saying, that these become bigger portions as a backup. Do you want all of your money, GRC, in one chain that is also just happens to be the easiest target for the government to come after?
No, and it moves the slowest. And it moves the slowest. So, and there's the same downside volatility, 85% roughly. So when Richard explained this to us loud and clear with Bitcoin, and then Ethereum, and then Hex on ETH will be the next to have too much volume, and it'll start to move a little slower, but that's it. It's just slower. For years, projects come into the space. Oh, we are the Ethereum killer. Turns out ETH 2.0 might be the Ethereum killer, but Ethereum still lives on. Ethereum is open source software. And that's what I'm saying. It's not always just Vitalik, but Vitalik wants it to be about him and the ETH Foundation. And I think they're all wrapped up.
Real quick, I just want to give a special shout out to Alan. He's one of the admins in the Hex POW chat. And also shout out to all the other admins in the Hex POW chat for stepping up the way you guys have in supporting the community.
And if you guys would like more information or have questions about POW, how do you get on there? What's your RPC settings? Where can you go through? What's a safe DEX to use? Bullish will drop it in the chat, t.me/hexpow. There you go. Right there. You can jump over there. That
is the best chat in crypto if you want to figure out what's going on right away on all these chains. Updates within 5 minutes on new stuff that comes out. And trust me, I see the stuff on there and I check everything usually. So they have all the stuff running. They have a bot in there that'll put up all the right links for all of the RPC settings for all of the different networks. And so you can get on each trading platform and know which network is which if you keep connected to that group. That is the most helpful group right now by a million. The other groups whacked.
And it's absolutely dominated by the smart, intelligent people of this community, right? Bullish went through and set it up. We're all in.
Yeah,
here.
can you mention that, Bullish?
Yeah,
real quick?
you know, like I don't want to brag, but it has been a community effort. So like again, that's why I wanted to shout out some of the admins. Like I'm not gonna call them out specifically, but yeah, some of the admins in you know, some of the RH official Telegram groups, they're also admin in this one. And unlike, you know, some of the other group, no shade to the other group, we support Hex on all chains. You know, like we're about Hex and everything about Hex, regardless of what chain it is. We have a lot of like-minded individuals in this group. A lot of them have stepped up to the plate to become admins and, you know, and set up and, you know, monitor and respond to questions. And at this point, we pretty much have 24-hour coverage with the different.
There's 130. I just looked. There's 130 people who are currently online in the group of 1,100 people. So if you guys have questions, you can get them answered very easily in this group.
Yeah. When I'm asleep, we have admins that are awake on the other side of the world answering questions. So at any time, no matter where you are in the world, go to t.me/hexpow if you want any information on anything that's going on with the forks.
Yes, and we're in the stage of like this is transitory in terms of there are multiple ways to access the market. There are multiple centralized exchanges to swap back and forth. As we progress, and this could be several days, more than likely it's going to be several months before a more dominant place comes forth. Right now, right, for POW, V2 POW swap. For V3, there's a front end for it that Alex has put together. Over time, these will consolidate and it will be one dominant place where most of the liquidity is. And as that happens, if you're interested on these sides, or you have a couple $100 or several 100,000 or millions of tokens on this side that you just got copied for free, you can get all the information of what's going on in that group. Also, there's people in there who do provide LP over there if you have questions about LP over there. So I'd like to hear what you guys think. What do you guys think is going to be interesting? Do you think that POW is going to be Classic? Do you think Fair is going to be Classic? I'd like to hear what you guys think, because this is a community. This is all brand new shit. We don't know exactly how this is going to play out. We're like, that's why if anybody says this is what's going to happen or that's what's going to happen,
that's
like,
why I want to buy the circulating supply of a whale rather than like when people do find out. But there's whales out there that don't have to wait; they can just sit there on their ass and they're good. And this is good for them. And you know, they should be happy with me, but they're just stupid.
Do you have, or Bullish,
but you know,
does somebody have that chart, Bullish? Maybe you could pull this up where you look at, say, ADA, Solana, Ethereum, XYZ, all at launch within the first year of the X's.
Yeah, let me look it up. I don't have it, but let me look it up. If anyone in the chat has it like ready, like just please post it in the chat, but I'll look it up.
Thank you. So because what he's going to try to pull up is, if you look at layer ones or things like Uniswap or the Polkadot or things that have launched within the first year, I think across the board, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe across the board, all of them have had over 100x after within 1 year of launch. Now, we have no idea if that's going to take place with POW. We have no idea if that's going to take place.
I
with
think
Bear.
like 63x is like the minimum for layer ones that like survive.
Okay, perfect. 63x. Cool. I'll take a 63x. And we don't know where it's going to be. Could be on both. Could be on one. Could not be at all. But like $200 is not going to kill somebody, right?
Yeah, but if the native asset on any chain goes up, Hex will scream harder.
Yes.
And that's what you'll learn if you don't understand why that is. Just keep watching. Just keep focusing. Immutable software, dollars in, staking feature. You'll get there if you're new. And if you need help one-on-one, that's what the Telegram groups are for. If you have a real serious concern and you actually have money, like you can hit me up. And if you really want to talk, but I don't need people, and all I do to go to the Telegram chats and Twitter and Deck Screener. So, and I'm saying, but if you're a busy guy, it's different. Like I'm not, I'd be focusing on this stuff all day. Guys, at 1 p.m., I'm going on with Axis, and we're going to be talking about proof of stake versus proof of work, liquidity providing gains and ratios. And we're going to be showing you what kind of stuff we're looking at, because Axis has a group, and Axis teaches people all day long and researches this stuff. And he's extremely open-minded, and that's what we want more of. Axis, biceps for Axis in the chat, guys. We're giving you the best content every single day. Smash the like button, guys. Smash the like button. I have returned to 160 pounds for the first time in a long time. You know what I mean? And I feel more blood pressure wise healthy. Because I'm a small dude. Like I tell people that all the time, but when they see me in person, they're like, "Why are you not 6'10"?" I'm like, "I'm a small dude. Like all you can see is my fucking head." You know what I'm saying? But being small also has its advantages. You can hide in really small places if there's a fear of attack. So Sam, if there's something going on where there's a bomb going off, I could hide in any crawl space in the basement, and he would be in the middle where things could fall on his head. So I would survive, and he would die because I'm a little shrimp. Nuclear war. 101. What survives in a nuclear war? The cockroaches.
Correct. Did you have any thoughts on that question related to, and then we can wrap things up here. Oh, this is one here. Cyber, would you be kindly share an LP pair you have been milking until the cows come home?
Hedron, PAL. Hedron, Fair. No, to be honest, I like the WETH pairs on both of those because they have the most trading volume. So like if I'm doing WETH on PAL and WETH on Fair, and then I'm doing Hedron on both, and then I'm doing Hex on both. And the rates are similar, but probably the best for the native asset. Hedron on one of them, though, rates were like 1,300%.
And if you do a concentrated position, the returns are stupid. And then there was one more here. Vagabonds, that question. Nobody talks about ICOSA on PAL. What is the consensus on that? Well, the consensus is that you have that over there. If you own ICOSA, you have ICOSA over there. The ICOSA contracts are live. I just thought of this as I'm looking at this, but what we could actually do is potentially check the contracts to see if people are selling their ICOSA selling their HSIs, because ICOSA, HSIs and hacks all work over there, right? They're all immutable code. So you could take your HSIs and sell them to that contract over there. I haven't been tracking that, but I have been tracking it for POS. I don't know if I have a resource for tracking the number of HSIs that have been sold to ICOSA, but all your stakes are over there. It's all over there, bro. Go check it out. Join the Telegram group if you care to fucking get into the weeds on it.
Hey, remember Steph told us that Hex on ETH was going to the moon? Steph, you can't tweet that stuff unless you're going to buy the shit and make the price go up. So stop tricking everyone. And I love when guys on Twitter be like, I'm the richest motherfucker. These prices move with no US dollar. I'm like, move the price then, bitch. Why aren't you buying then? Oh, wait, because it'll get eat up like a little chicken nugget.
Did you want to wrap things up? I want to give us just a tiny bit of a preview for the LP video. You guys will probably cover stuff at one.
What happens when Ether launches cheap transactions in June 2022 with proof of work? I don't know what you're talking about.
um, on the other chains, right? I'm providing liquidity on all of them, but on the F and W, I've earned, and this is just in the last several days, earned 400 plus million hedron and over 40,000 hex. 40,000 hex on these other chains, and 400 million hedron in just two of some. I have more than two positions, but just in two of the positions over there. There's massive opportunity. I'm going to get more into the weeds on that in the future. And if you
well, that's what our episode on tomorrow with Access will be. Then you should just prepare whatever you want to prepare, and then he can analyze everything. And all I'm doing, my goal today, start a V3 liquidity position and make it make sense and make it understandable for me. That's not hard to do, but it takes focus because you have to be, just sitting there and focused up. But this is how I do things. I'm a crypto guy 100% of the time. That's not everyone's experience either. So, me earning $200 a day on PowSwap might just not really make a difference to some people, but to me, it makes a difference. And to me, earning 200 there, 150 on fair, and 100 on what other position I make, that's over 100 grand a year. And then you tax that 33%. And you're at, that's $65,000 a year from me just clicking buttons a couple of days. So it's just up to you and where you're at in life. Like if 63 grand a year is not a lot to you, then I would understand not wanting to deal with that. I really would. To be honest, I wouldn't want my dad to be doing this because it wouldn't really make sense if he's continuing to work. If he, you know what I mean? Like if he decides he's going to continue to work, he's making way more than that, and he's going to work anyway. So he's working all day. He has a business to run. You know what I mean? But if you don't, and you're in school and you have 3 or 4 hours a day where you're kind of playing video games, potentially, maybe using internet pornography, something like that, or I'm just being serious because I know what guys do.
Yep.
You should turn that off, and you should make sure you delete it from your browsers. And you should take your PS4 and you should throw it in the garbage can as fast as you fucking can. And the faster you take all those bullshit distractions out of your life, the faster you can compete with guys like me. Because there's not a chance in hell you'll catch me playing fucking stupid ass video games for more than 20 minutes if I'm just curious and bored. Okay, so just understand, keeping up in crypto takes focus. And if you're not focused, get learning. And then when you're learned enough where you can start to focus, because it's not about who's smart and who's not. That's what people just say that shit to trick your shit. Or that's why you get degrees, because you can be like, hey, I did this test. It was very difficult and you probably couldn't have done it. But in this world, nobody has those things anymore. So, but that's still merit. But I'm saying, all the guys I talk to, none of them have degrees. They're all 24, and they just have big fat bags of hex, and they just. So anyway, life experience is the most important, guys. You have to understand that life is hard, emotional fitness, but you can dominate and do anything you want at all times. If you decide to, you must decide. I don't listen to anyone. I decided that every day when I wake up in the morning, I decide that because I want to do something that I don't think anyone's done yet. And Sam, thanks for being awesome support for me moving forward. And let's talk about major LP gains.
I'm looking at classic, POW, and fair deck screener volume last 24 hours. Caught Sam's POW video earlier. LP next on the education roadmap. You were awesome, bro. Thanks for doing that.
I think if you sacrifice for Pulse Pot, I'm assuming this. Don't. If you sacrifice for Pulse Pot, I think the official airdrop for those tokens might be tonight, and then the official trading starts a week from tonight. So we'll be covering that, and I want to get a portion of Pulse Pot, and I want to show people when that's launched and available. I'm going to be doing a BNB Marathon Pulse Pot stream to show people what this man created. He created something very cool. He created something that has admin keys, but your money's never in there for more than 30 seconds. So if you have 30 seconds of risk that you're willing to take, you can have an amazing and that's exactly the same with LP. That's exactly the same with going on Uniswap. You take a risk by connecting up and putting your shit on there for even just a minute.
But I don't think he has, if I remember correctly, Jacob, right, doesn't have the does not have admin keys to the pool. He just has admin keys to change the whitelist tokens as new tokens become available, unless something has changed since the last conversation.
That is correct.
So you can use PulsePot, and there's no way that he can take that money. It's because he has to, if Pulse launches, right, and you want to be able to use Pulse on PulsePot, somebody has to be able to add that to the code. So he has segmented that separately so that he can add Pulse, like maybe there's a wallet, right, that comes out and add those tokens to this. Maybe there's a stable coin that launches, right? Maybe there's other things that come along, and he wants to be able to add those to there, but he can't touch your shit. I've never been on BNB other than just on their website and Pancake, right? So this will be an awesome stream when we
BNB is just like what you're seeing on ETHPal. It's the same experience. It's just more mature and it has more shit.
Yeah. If you've never been on Binance, what your experience on ETHPal now is pretty much Binance.
It's just like that's how Binance is all the time.
But on a side note, guys, like I'm looking at the volume. This is transactional volume, Fair, W, and Classic. W has 3 to 4x the amount of volume as Classic today, 10 days after launch. And ETH Fair has probably around 40%, 35 to 40% of the volume of something that's been out for a very long time, but the connotation was to not be there. So the idea that these are not going to work, I don't know. It seems like I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus, but it appears that POW has a lot of support, right? They already have 3 or 4x the amount of volume in terms of transactions. Fair has continued to grow along this path. This next couple of weeks and or months are going to be fascinating how this plays out. That's all I got. Let's wrap things up.
Let's wrap it up, guys. Once again, if you're not back here with me and Access Live in 48 minutes, you're making an extremely large mistake with your time, especially if you're working some job where they allow you to use earphones. You should be listening because this is good information. I know you like to watch your serial killer documentaries. We all do. Okay. They're really interesting, but you can put those on save and you can listen to us talking about LP gains and the future of proof of work versus proof of stake, which is the most important topic right now, in my opinion.
Cool.
All right, guys, have a great day. Sam, I'll see you tomorrow, and we're having Access on tomorrow, Sam. So I'd like if you would prepare some spreadsheets because Access is a man of the numbers.
And we will we'll be covering that 11 a.m. EST. You guys check out Twitter, links down below. Check out other places, Instagram, etc., TikTok down below. Jump over to Telegram, say what's Gucci in there. We're all in there. Appreciate you guys, and we'll take us out of here with some DeFi proof.
Peace out, guys.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking no blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim ready sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning.